Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our virtual church service, especially if this is your first time ever tuning in to anything Ocean Point. Thanks for taking the time to be a part of our virtual gathering. This is our new normal, even if it doesn't quite feel normal, and I'm glad that you chose to spend some of your time here with us today. There are a few things that we can do to kind of make this virtual gathering feel a little more connected, and one of those things that I would love for you to do is to check in on Facebook. Click that little check-in button, say that you're at Ocean Point Christian Church. I love seeing that and being able to see that we kind of are still gathered even though we're gathering separately. Even if you're watching on YouTube, if you could check in on Facebook, that would be great. Secondly, I would love for you to let us know where you're watching from. We've got people watching from all over the globe. I know we have some people watching in Japan. We have some watching in Italy and Colombia. Those are just some of the places I know for sure. We even have some people who are watching from our very own island right here. So let us know where you're watching from. I love to kind of get a feel for that. And then I would also love for you to let us know who's watching with you. You might be watching on your own, or perhaps you're watching with your pets, or you've got family with you. Let us know who's watching with you. And to kind of crank it up a notch, I thought it'd be really fun if you could take a picture, maybe take a selfie of you watching who's watching with you with your screen in the background. Now, if you're watching on your phone, that might be a little difficult, but I think it's be fun just to kind of get a context of how everyone's watching and what your setup looks like. So do that and then post it to our Facebook page or share it. That would be fantastic. Now, today is Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to everyone out there. But I want to take kind of just a quick minute aside to acknowledge something. See, for many, Mother's Day might not be a time of celebrating. It might be more of a reminder of something painful. Depending on what your past year looked like, or maybe past years have looked like, Mother's Day might be a reminder of loss or of hurt. Maybe you lost a child, or maybe like me this past year, you lost your mother. And if that's you, I just want you to know that we're here for you. We're here to grieve alongside of you and pray for you. You're not alone. But for many, we see that Mother's Day is a time of celebrating. So happy Mother's Day to everyone today. Don't go anywhere. Stay right there as we get ready to kick things over to Brady.
Good morning, Ocean Point Christian Church. So glad you decided to tune in this morning. Let's sing together. We're reaching out to welcome you, God, and fill this place again with your song. But our hearts with wonder and awe. Give us a grace, a never-changing God. And all we want and all we need is found in you. Yes, it's found in you, Jesus. Every victory is found in you. Yes, it's found in you. Oh, 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 oh. Open wide, our hearts now to yours. Every fear bound to your love. We were seen never before. Give us the rain, never-changing God. And all we want and all we need is found in you, is found in you. Jesus, every victory is found in you, is found in you. Oh, 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 oh.
Before we continue in our service, I have a handful of things to go over to let you know about. First off is this, groups. I know many of us are just feeling more distant than ever, and we have had our digital groups that have been going on that were regular groups before, smaller groups, but we're going to have signups for new small groups that are digital that will meet via Zoom. And so if you've been looking for something to be able to connect with other people because you're feeling isolated, this would be a great opportunity for you. It's just a 4-week season that they're going to meet. There's a Monday night option, and a Wednesday night option, as we're going to go through a study called How Not to Be Your Own Worst Enemy. If you've ever found yourself in a position where you've been saying things or doing things that just ultimately hurt yourself, this would be a great study to go through on that. You can be anywhere in the world because this is fully digital for that. And you can just go to our website, oceanpointri.com, Ocean Point with an E on the end because we're fancy like that, oceanpointri.com, to be able to sign up to be a part of our digital groups Monday night, Wednesday night. Also, I wanted to let you know about giving, ways to give. We continue to field answers or questions about how to give. The easiest way is to give through our Ocean Point app or on the website, and you can set up recurring giving that way. And I know we are all trying to figure out and navigate this whole new finance thing within the world, and we are as well as a part of that. So if you're able to give, that is fantastic. Some of you, though, prefer to give in a more analog method. We do check the mail every day, so you are able to still send checks in. 866 West Main Road in Middletown, Rhode Island, 02842. You can give that way as well. I want to set aside a little bit of time right now for you to be able to take communion. That's one piece that we've kind of gotten out of the rhythm of and trying to figure out and navigate this whole virtual service thing. And so we're going to now, from here on out, set aside part of our service time to be able to take communion. You might not be prepared to do that in this moment right now today. You can do it later on, and maybe you'll be prepared for future weeks. It doesn't have to be anything ornate. You could even just have saltines, maybe, and some grape juice. But this can be that time for you to set aside to remember the sacrifice that Jesus made for us. He set apart as a part of the Last Supper, this meal, this symbolic meal that we get to be a part of, to celebrate, to worship him, and to remember his sacrifice. As he said, take and eat this bread, break this bread and eat it, and remember my body that was broken for you, and drink this juice and remember my blood that was poured out for you. This is a chance for us to unite with not only the church today all over the globe, but Christians for the history of the church going back 2,000 years. So if you are prepared to do that, you can do that now amongst yourselves. Otherwise, just know that each week from here on out, we will set aside some time for everyone to take communion and be a part of this. Also, just know that later on today, we will also have a kids lesson, kids service. So keep your eyes open for that.
God's love pursues us, comes after us. He loves us. Before I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so good to me. Before I took the breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so kind to me. Glory overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. All it takes is me down in my sin, love, not to leave tonight. I couldn't hurt, I don't deserve, still you give yourself away. All the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah, I was your foe, still your love fought me. You have been so, so good. And I found no one, you paid it all for me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending presence of God. Oh, it changes me down, priceless, not me tonight. I couldn't hurt it, I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending presence of God. Yeah. No shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. No wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Sing it again. No shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. No wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. No shadow you mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. No wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. No, the overwhelming, never-ending presence of God. Oh, it chases me down to my still I'm not. I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending presence of God. God, we thank you so much for your reckless love to us. God, we thank you so much for coming after us, for pursuing us. God, I pray your blessing upon this day, our time together this morning. God, we love you. We give this time now to your son's name. We pray.
Hey, for today's teaching time, I thought we'd go for a walk again. We went for a walk last week in my neighborhood, and it helped me out because I don't like sitting still for too long. But this week I thought we'd mix it up again a little bit. I know I've talked to a lot of people who have said that they feel like this is just Groundhog's Day, the same thing over and over again. So we're at a different location to go for a walk today. And just a little bit of a disclaimer, our walk today is going to require a little more terrain and elevation change. So if the camera is bouncing around a little bit, or if it even like happens to like flick out of the way and do something crazy, don't go anywhere. Stay there. We'll fix it. We're just trying to do this together. This is going to be a great time for us to be able to gather right now, and as a part of our digital virtual lesson time. I've got my lovely wife as the camera woman right now doing this here on Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to her. Today's also my oldest daughter's birthday. Happy birthday, Sophie. And I'm excited to be able to be with you guys. So let's go ahead and let's start our lesson. Now, as we begin, the first thing that I want to point out to you is something that when I tell you about it, you're going to hear it and you're going to say, well, duh. And it's just simply this. We avoid things that we don't like, right? We avoid the things that we don't care for. And this isn't something that has started recently. This goes back to our childhood, where maybe as a child you avoided eating vegetables because you didn't like vegetables. Maybe even as an adult, you still avoid eating vegetables. And maybe you avoid exercise. Maybe you avoid people who look like all they do is eat vegetables and exercise. And so we have this tendency to avoid things that we don't like. If you're like me, you avoid blue cheese because it's just not natural. That's not natural stuff. And so we avoid things that we don't like. One thing that we avoid is pain, right? We don't like pain. We don't want to put ourselves through pain. But there's really kind of an exception to that. That's not a broad general statement of truth. It's partly true. You see, we don't want to experience pain whenever we think there's pain without a purpose. If we can convince ourselves that there's a purpose to the pain, then sometimes we voluntarily put ourselves through pain. Some of you might be into CrossFit. I had a friend of mine who invited me to go to CrossFit with him one time. He's like, "Oh, dude, you got to come to CrossFit. It's awesome. You'll throw up." It's like, dude, there is no part of that sounds appealing. What you are saying is not making me want to be a part of what you are doing. But when we see purpose in that pain, maybe it's the end result. Some of you might be long distance runners, you're marathon runners, and you put your bodies through tremendous pain in order to feel that satisfaction at the end. If I was ever able to get through and run a marathon, let me tell you, those stickers that you can get, the 26.2 stickers to put on your car to demonstrate that you've run a marathon. If I ever run a marathon, I'm not just getting one sticker, I'm getting all of the stickers. I'm covering my entire car in 26.2 stickers. I'm changing my license plate to 26.2. I'm going to legally change my name to 26.2 because it's about that sense of accomplishment on the back end that you're able to feel. And we're able to sometimes feel this pain and endure this pain because we're willing to say, yes, it's worth it. And sometimes we are able to pause and look back, because usually in the moment, we can't determine whether or not the pain is worth it. We have to have a kind of a perspective further down the road to be able to look back. It is Mother's Day today. And, moms, as you held your child for the first time, that pain was then worth it. And it's not necessarily that means that the pain isn't painful. It's not that we want the pain, but is the pain worth it? And this is where we're able to look at something in the Bible that I think is going to give some insight to it. Now I'm going to say something, and this might be disheartening for some of you, but there are some statements in the Bible that I don't like, and so I avoid those. And it's not that I disagree with them. I just kind of find them hard to swallow. So one of those statements, though, we're going to look at today, because just because something is something that we don't like doesn't mean that we shouldn't look at it. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it. And the statement that we're going to look at today, it actually answers a question. And the question that it answers is this: what do we do when there's nothing that we can do? Which is kind of like right now, right? There's nothing we can do with a lot of what we're being handed. The graduates, the class of 2020, what do you do when you can't do anything about your graduation situation? My heart breaks for you guys. What do you do when you can't change and transform your job situation? What do you do when you can't do anything about what your health looks like? What do you do? Maybe you're scrolling through Instagram and you're seeing all these pictures of other people, and it's just making you feel incredibly alone. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you don't feel alone enough. Because of this, you've just constantly been around people and you can't wait to have some more alone time. So what do we do to be able to handle all of this? Well, we get the answer from James. And James is the brother of Jesus. And he's someone that, what he says, at first I want to be like, James, that's kind of brutal. That's kind of something that I don't see to be relevant. It's insensitive. And I don't know that you know what's going on in my life. So what authority do you have? Well, while what James says might not be the most pleasant thing to hear, I think we should listen to what he has to say, because James is the brother of Jesus, who growing up did not believe his brother was God, because who would, right? It wasn't until he saw his brother crucified and then alive again that he believed that his brother was his Lord. James then goes on to be the leader of the Jerusalem church, and for 30 years. And the Jerusalem church was composed of mainly Jewish converts to Christianity. And so they were viewed by the Jews in Jerusalem as a cult. Many of them were ostracized and had financial need. They weren't able to lean on the temple for anything. And James is able to lead his people in this time. And so what we see is that James was surrounded by and responsible for a community in crisis. Sound familiar? It's what we're experiencing right now. And so what James says is something that is powerful. And what I want to do, I want to put it in reverse order so that we can understand it a little bit better in English, how James intended it to be. And here's what James said. He said, whenever you face trials of many kinds. Notice he says whenever, not if ever. So it's assumed that you are going to. You can't faith away trials to keep them away from you. You can't pray them away completely. You can't obey them away, enough obedience, and you won't have any trials. We will. Whenever you face, and this word face that he uses, it has this sense about it of meaning surprise. We see it used other places in conjunction with the idea of being robbed, like you're surprised. So when you are surprised by a trial, which is so many of us, that you've probably found something over the past few weeks even that you were surprised by, that you didn't think you were going to experience. And that can come from anywhere. You know, maybe you got a phone call and you were surprised by what you heard on the other end. You opened up a piece of mail, maybe it was a press conference, and the trial that came from that just really, it caught you off guard and you don't really know how to make sense of it. Because when you are surprised by trials of many kinds, many, that word bothers me right there, many. Because that's more than one, that's more than some. Whenever you face trials of many kinds, and then this is how he kind of frames it together. He says, consider it. Consider it. And this idea of considering what it means and what it looks like is for us to take a change of perspective, to change our point of view. Consider it. Consider changing your point of view with what you're experiencing. It says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters. Pure joy. Really, James? Do you know what I'm experiencing? Do you know what I'm going through? How can you say that? Here's how James can say that. He says, consider it pure joy, brothers and sisters, because you know. He says, because you know. That's kind of that time where you stop and you pause and you look around. See, as you're climbing, as you're walking, as you're going through life, when it's treacherous like this, you're constantly looking down at the ground to see where the next misstep might happen. And it's so easy to lose where you are in the whole spectrum of life. And so he says, because you know. So you stop, you catch your breath, you gain perspective. He says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, because you know the testing of your faith. And this word testing that he uses is a word that it means to like test the authenticity of something, to see, is it true? Is it real? And I feel like this word authenticity, it just resonates even more right now than maybe before. I know some churches, they were putting together video teachings kind of like this, and they had these great production studios and this ability to produce some really well done video. And what they saw was that it didn't connect with their people because it didn't seem authentic. It didn't seem true. And so they had to go back and kind of like scuff them up a little bit to bring a little bit of authenticity. And you think about checking the authenticity of something physical. This is the chance to check the authenticity of our faith, the testing of our faith, to check the authenticity of our faith. Faith is what trials do, is they expose the authenticity of our faith. And when I say faith, what I really just mean is our confidence in God. So trials expose the authenticity of our confidence in God. I mean, you know that. You've experienced that because that's what you're praying for right now, right? Think about the things that you're praying for and you're praying about, and it exposes those. So James says, the testing of your faith produces perseverance. It strengthens your faith. See, faith is kind of like a muscle. And the more you exercise it, the more you work it out, the stronger it becomes. And those trials are that exercise. Those trials are the things that are strengthening our faith. It becomes the mortar within the bricks to kind of solidify the wall and give strength to it all together. And so I wonder, what have you been struggling with? What is it that maybe you need to change some of your perspective on? To be able to pause and look and just be able to refocus on the things around you. And I know it's hard. I don't know what kind of pain you're experiencing. I don't know what it is, but I know like in the moment, it's so hard to gain perspective. It's so hard to be able to look and gain an idea of being able to answer the question, is it worth it? But it's important because what you're going through, maybe now is the time to check. Maybe now is the time to adjust and reframe. Because when you change your perspective, you might just look back at the struggle and realize it was worth it.
Murdered for me on that cross, accused in absence of wrong. Sin washed away your blood. Too much to make sense of it all. I know that your love breaks my fall. The scandal of grace, you died in my place. My soul will live, oh, to be alive. Give all I have just to know Jesus will go undesired, forever will hold my heart. Where is your sting? Power is dead as my sin. The cross has taught me to live. Mercy, my heart now to sing. The day and its troubles shall come. Know that your strength is enough. Scandal of grace, died in my place, and my soul will live. Oh, to be loved, give all I have just to know all because of Him. And it's all because of you, Jesus. It's all because of you, Jesus. It's all because of your love that my soul lives. Oh, to be loved, give all I have just to know. Jesus, there's no one beside you. Forever to hold in my arms. Give all I have just to know. Jesus, there's no one beside. Forever the hope in my heart.
Hey, thanks again for being a part of our virtual service today. I think it's important for us to continue to gather virtually like this to remind ourselves that we are not in this alone, that we're in this together, and to be reminded that the church is not a building. The building is closed, the church is not. So as you get ready to go and live your life and do your things, remember to go and be the church. I miss you guys, love you guys, I hope to see you soon.